Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Roasters Wrap powered by Green Square. If you're a coffee roaster, green coffee buyer, or coffee enthusiast looking to stay on top of everything in the green coffee market, then you're in the right place. I'm Caleb Holstein, and in today's episode, we're going to be doing a wrap on the year 2024. This is the year that shook the coffee world and the coffee supply chain to its core. And we're going to be looking back at some of the biggest moments, some of the biggest things we've seen and learnt in the market, as well as a little window into what we're seeing and our predictions for 2025. So let's jump in and find out what are the biggest things from 2024 and what do we think is going to happen in 2025. Number one, production volumes at origin. We've seen both Arabica and Robusta have extremely challenging weather conditions at origin, affecting the production and yields from their two largest producers. With Robusta, we have Vietnam being the largest producer, having quite detrimental weather effects, seeing record high, all-time high Robusta prices. And also with the Arabica market, we've seen Brazil and the challenging harvest and weather they've been experiencing throughout this year and even last year, drastically affecting the coffee market and the total yield, with a reduction in screen size of coffees and also a reduction of actual coffee produced as well. We've seen these weather challenges continue on later in the year, which are now informing future forecasts for the 25-26 harvest. And those reports, obviously, we had the Vol Cafe report come out with a conservative 34 million bags, creating that drastic spike and us hitting that $3.50 USD per pound mark. And then we've also seen very quickly after that the NKG report, which was more optimistic, but still at a 40 million bag for next year, still being lower than expected and quite challenging as well. So the production at origin this year has played a major role across both the Arabica and the Robusta market, driving both to record highs. Number two, we have new market drivers. One of the biggest stories from my perspective this year has been the Luckin Coffee MOU with Brazil. This is a major move, and Luckin Coffee, which is based out of China and a really emerging global coffee brand, signed a memorandum of understanding to source coffee from Brazil that has set what I would describe as a new base pricing level, which traditionally has been set by companies like Nestle, Starbucks, maybe even JDE previously around the world. But this Luckin contract is setting a precedent in our perspective looking forward in the market. With the initial signing of their MOU in around July this year, or I think it was June or July this year, stating 120,000 ton of coffee for 500 million USD, only for later in the year, around the late October stage, for an additional MOU for another 120,000 ton of coffee from Brazil to be signed for an additional 900 million. So that combined was them signing for a 4-year time span of coffee, 240,000 tons at the equivalent of 1.4 million USD. The calculations when we take these total volume and price brings us around the $2.60 USD per pound mark. And this is their security for 4 years. So we need to understand this is a global benchmark that is getting set from an emerging and growing market. We know the power that can be seen in the growing middle class through China and Asia alone, but this is a signal to the Western consumers of coffee that the days of $1.80 below aren't hanging around any longer, and we need to build our systems, our budgets, and our planning to survive in this new market dynamic. Number three is the release of the EUDR regulation. For everyone not in Europe, it might have been easy to not really focus on what happened in this one, but I think this is one of the most important things for us to be aware of about what this regulation means and the effect it's having on our market. This regulation was officially going to be starting in 2024, requiring more documentation and traceability for any coffee being imported into Europe. But with extensions granted to certain compliance deadlines, this has created even more uncertainty in the process. So coffee producers and buyers have been scrambling to understand what full compliance look like And when exactly will that timeline? With the original deadline being December 2024, and then the proposal of an extension and the result we saw in the market when that proposal came out, we did see the market drop down quite a bit, showing its actual effect in the market. With those delays being a little bit unclear, it has been really challenging for a lot of the European exports into Europe and also a lot of the buyers in Europe to understand that. EUDR is raising questions around traceability, supply chain transparency, and documentation of coffee that's directly relating to deforestation in the European Union. Importers are putting in systems and putting things in place for roasters. The big lesson is clear that traceability in Europe is no longer a buzzword, and we see Europe as being one of the global leaders. So we see this potentially rolling out into other sectors in the future. With the regulation extended timeline, we're heading into 2025 with more questions. Will there be an extension again? If there is an extension, will there be another stockpiling event where European buyers and importers are trying to secure more stocks prior to this regulation deadline? And it's just having the pending question mark of, is this going to contribute to more volatility as we move through 2025 in the coffee market? And number 4 is very close to my heart. It has been a huge year for us here at Greensware with the rollout of our 2 new roaster tools, making life easier for planning, budgeting, and forecasting your green coffee. With our Position Manager, a standalone feature that lets you as a coffee roaster upload all your contracts to have one singular place to place orders, having automatic updates, alerts, and tracking of the drawdown of those contracts, ensuring you're aware of where you're up to in your contracts, informing your future purchasing, and making sure you're never caught out in this volatile market. Along with our blend builder, for anyone working on their coffee blends, helping roasters to link their contracts directly to their blends, working with their budgets, forecasts, coffee needs, helping them to secure their raw costs and actually planning their stock consumption into the future. It's all about giving roasters more confidence when it comes to planning and booking forward contracts, as this is required moving forwards. So that was our 4 biggest drivers and events from 2024. And I'm excited to now look forward and share our predictions and forecasts for 2025 and some of the key factors and things that you as a coffee roaster and green buyer need to be aware of, to be working on and planning for as we progress in these continued uncertain times into 2025. The number 1 is going to be market volatility. As the market continues to face a lot of uncertainty, especially from key origins like Brazil, roasters need to stay vigilant with their long-term planning strategies. We're going to see weather patterns, geopolitical shifts, and ongoing supply chain disruptions continuing to impact coffee prices. Additionally, the full implementation of the EUDR regulation is going to add more complexity to the sourcing process, with these compliance requirements influencing purchasers' decision in the supply chain and potentially driving an additional stockpiling till their full implementation later in 2025. Number 2 is going to be the change from a price conversation to a quantity conversation in 2025. We're already seeing the early effects of this right now, but with the global safety nets of spot position and the oversupply of product being pulled away from us rapidly, as we enter 2025, the need for roasters to have access to the right quantity of product, not talking about how much it costs or the quality, but purely accessing the right quantity of product, is going to be key. Roasters who can ensure access to that quantity of product they require will have an extremely competitive advantage against their competitors in the market as we enter into this tight supply scenario in 2025. And lastly, long-term planning is no longer an option in your green coffee procurement. It's a must. With the global coffee spot positions continuing at record lows, roasters can no longer afford to take a short-term approach to their procurement strategy. The volatility in the market, coupled with the ongoing unpredictability in harvest and supply chains, mean that roasters need to start planning longer term for their coffees today. Aligning purchasing strategies with forecasted harvest cycles, locking in contracts early, and having their needs met for the upcoming season will be critical to avoiding shortages and managing those price hikes as a coffee roaster. In light of these three key things, as we look ahead to 2025, it's clear to see the key to surviving and thriving in this volatile market as a coffee roaster and green buyer will be effective green coffee management and planning. Roasters will need to implement systems, whether it's software or just manual processes, that are going to allow you to track and forecast your coffee needs, secure the long term contracts, and stay on top of the market challenges. It's more important than ever to stay informed and to stay agile in this period. For all our Aussie roasters, guys, be sure to head over and register for Green Square to streamline your procurement, planning, budgeting, and forecasting as you move into 2025. For just $49 a month, you can take the guesswork out of your largest cost center, your green coffee. And for everyone around the world, guys, we invite you to stay up to date with us by following us on YouTube, Instagram, or Spotify, the latest updates and insights. I'm so excited to be preparing more content and more information like this for everyone around the world in this critical time. As always, guys, if you need anything, please reach out to us. You can get us through our website, Instagram, Facebook, all the channels. Leave a comment wherever you see this content. But thanks for tuning into the Roaster Wrap, powered by Green Square. Have a great Christmas and holidays, everyone. We'll see you next year. Happy roasting, team.